Hi guys, Chris here. So if you clicked on this video, the chances are you're working with data in Excel and you're probably trying to do some copy pasting of data around Excel. Perhaps you're using VBA to do that though. Now, don't get me wrong. I think that's great. But the truth is, I don't copy paste data around Excel in VBA. I have a whole different way of doing it. And it's a way that is a real punch the air moment for me when it works. My customers love it and my students love it too. We're going to cover it in the next 10 minutes or so. But first, I had a great user comment come in on the channel, and let me know in the comments below, what videos do you want to see? We're doing one video a week at the moment. What videos do you want to see? Leave me a comment below. So this comment came in, and let me know, how would you deal with this? If you had to fix this situation, how are you going to deal with it? So we can see somebody is trying to copy data from one sheet to another in Excel. And we can see they're using the dot copy method. They're using the copy method in Excel VBA. We can see they're having some problems. So in this video, we're going to fix these problems, and I'm going to show you the method I use so you never have to use copy at all in Excel VBA. We're going to use a method that's faster, more sophisticated, more powerful, underpins a lot of the business processes that we support here at Target Spreadsheet Solutions. But if we're meeting for the first time, big welcome to the video. I'm Chris Mortimer. I'm an Excel content creator, lecturer, and real world consultant. And every week I go live for 10 minutes on YouTube, try to give you some insights about Excel, automation, VBA. If that sounds good, drop us a subscription. We are going for 50 videos this year, and this is video number 8. So let's go ahead and tick that off. Drop us a subscription and we'll start ticking these off when we get to 95,000 subscribers. So with that said, make sure you download the download file and work along with me. Let's get into this one. So into the VBA editor, and let's see what we've got. Firstly, when is it good to use copy paste in Excel VBA? There's only two situations for me in which you should be using copy paste in Excel VBA, because it's actually not very efficient. It's not very efficient for Excel to be copy pasting data around. Very resource intensive. It takes a lot of time to do that. However, if you want to copy paste formats, I would recommend considering Excel VBA, because the great thing about copy pasting formats in Excel VBA is you can take all the formats of the cell. You can take the font size, the color, even the column width, whatever you want to take about the cell, you can do that in Excel VBA. So let's suppose I'm on the destination sheet here in the download file. I want to copy the formats from the data sheet here. So we can do that using this macro I've got in our download file. I'm going to click in here and click play. I can go across to the destination file and I can see those formats have changed. That's pretty cool. Now, there's one other situation in which I'd recommend you copy paste using Excel VBA, and that's the copy paste validation. Copy paste validation from one cell to another. So we can see on these cells, I'm on the data sheet at the moment. We can see on these cells, we've got data validation. Let's suppose we want to get that data validation from this worksheet into the destination worksheet. Once again, we can do that using Excel VBA, and you can see this line of code, this little construct here, is what really matters. It's dot paste special Excel paste something, could be formats, could be validation. I'm going to hit play here, and I can see in this cell, the validation has now come across. I've got a nice drop-down menu there. So they're the two situations where I would recommend using copy paste, specifically paste special. However, what if you want to just copy across the data? Well, we'll come to that in a second. We'll come to the technique I use. Firstly, can we fix this? Now, in our user comment, we can see our commenter here has dropped in the exact line of code that is failing for them. So stop the video, download the download file. How would you fix this? Can we fix this line of code now? I'm going to go ahead, play this line of code. Let's play the macro and let's see what we get. So we get application defined or object defined error. So that usually could mean a number of things. In this case, Excel is struggling with the sheet. Which sheet do we want to work with? What we're trying to do here is work across sheets. What's the specific problem here? Well, we're using dot cells. which is fantastic. We're going to go through .cells later in this session. But Excel doesn't know which sheet we're talking about, the cells on which sheet. So all we have to do here is add .address. That means Excel is going to understand, it's going to take the address property of this cell, and Excel is going to read two cell references. And we know on the channel range. So this is going to be the first reference, the start point. This is going to be the end point. Now, if we do this, I'm not on sheet 2 in the file, so I'm doing this remotely. I can go ahead and hit play here, and we can see we didn't get the error this time. We've made changes to the syntax. If I go to the destination sheet, I can see our marching ants around that range. So A1 to E5 there, and I can see we've managed to fix that. So we did manage to fix that. Okay, what about copying data across sheets? So let's get started with a simple data transfer. And this is why I don't copy paste or use copy paste in Excel VBA. What do we use? We use the simple A equals B construct or concept. A equals B construct, where A is the destination and B is the origin. Okay, let's go ahead and see this in practice. So let's suppose something really easy. I want to just put something in cell C1 on the destination sheet. And let's take the contents of cell C6 on the data sheet here. So A equals B, destination equals origin. So I'm going to say sheets destination equals dot range. In a rush, too much of a rush as usual. Dot range C1 is our destination cell. Dot value for completeness, not necessary at this point, will be necessary later. So sheets destination dot value, that's our destination, equals sheets data dot range. Rather, what am I talking about? Just watch what I'm typing. Don't listen to me. Dot range C6. This is our origin, and let's say dot value here. And here it is, our simple A equals B construct. Yes, you never need to use copy paste to copy paste data in Excel VBA if you have our simple data transfer construct. Let's go ahead and play this, and we can see on the destinations sheet our text has gone in there. This is important. It's important, this construct, because it's so much more efficient than doing copy paste. Copy paste, it's resource intensive. It's going to take time. This is super slick and powerful. The links are in the video description below for follow-up videos to help you work on this concept. Okay, so this is how we're going to transfer data across sheets. So the other part of our question is about cells, dot cells. If we go back to our viewer question in here, the viewer is working with cells, which is fantastic, but not quite getting the results they want. So let's build up the cells concept, because it's a beautiful dynamic concept, and it's so good because what's the specific thing that helps us if we're using dot cells? Well, we can use numbers rather than letters to refer to columns. Numbers rather than letters to refer to columns. Let's build it up step by step. So I'm going to say simple dot cells transfer, and let's make this super easy. Let's try to do what we did in our previous macro here. Let's try to do it without the conventional cell references, so C1 and C6. Let's try to do it using dot cells, and let's build up the concept. And if you're like me, you might just fall in love with dot cells. I use it all the time. So rather than range, we're going to substitute in cells and C1. So what would that be in cells language? Well, cells is rows and then columns. So a row number and then a column number. So C1 is going to be 1 row down, 3 columns across. And then C6 is going to be 6 rows down and then 3 columns across. So I'm going to go to the destination sheet, clear this cell. And then what we'd expect to happen if we click into the macro now, hit play at the top, we can see we've got our error there. Okay, can you see the basic syntax error that I've made? What can I say? Live TV, these things happen. No, seriously, in Excel VBA, in programming, you're going to make mistakes all the time. To be able to deal with those mistakes technically and emotionally is an important thing. We've seen it many times on the channel. over the years. So I've just made that change to the syntax. We need another change to the syntax. As I said, I'm going too fast. And let's go in and change this to cells. Okay, looks a bit better now, I think. And we can go ahead and hit play. And I can see that our value finally coming in there. That's what it's like. That's what it's like when you're doing VBA. It's trial and error. And you can get there with a bit of persistence and a bit of tweaking. That's how you make progress. So let's say I'm going to go for dynamic.cells here. Now, what our user's trying to do is transfer data across sheets using .cells. So we've done that in a very simple way. But we've just transferred a single cell of data there, a single range. So what if we wanted multiple rows and multiple columns? How would we go about doing that? And can we do it dynamically using .cells? Okay. So I'm going to go through this, step by step. So I'm going to use two variables here. So I'm going to say origin range as string, and I'm going to say dest range for destination range as string. So why do that? Well, we've used two variables here. What's a variable? It's dead simple. It's just a place in Excel's memory, in your computer's memory, to store some information that's useful to computer programming, to your macro in some way. It means a little more syntax, a little more programming, but makes things clearer. And me, I prefer things to be simple and clear and maybe a bit more verbose than to have just one very complicated line of code or one very complicated formula to look through. So let's try this. So I'm going to say with sheets data, we're going to look to define the origin range here. Okay, so origin range equals, so I can say dot range. So this first dot range, it tells Excel we're looking to define a range here, and then the first dot cells we put in is going to be the start of the range. The second dot cells we put in is going to be the end of the range here. So dot cells. So what we did above here, 1, 3, and then dot cells. What's it going to be? So the last row in the data set is row 63. Moving across column J, which I know is the 10th letter in the alphabet. So the row number is 63 and the column number is 10. So I need a bracket to close the dot cells construct and another bracket to close the dot range construct that's containing the syntax that we're writing now. Then we're going to say dot address here. Is that going to work? I'm not sure. We'll find a way to make it work. Going to just play this, yeah, and Excel seems happy with it. So I want to check this. So I'm going to go for the classic way of debugging and checking Excel VBA. I'm going to use a message box here, message box origin range. So what am I expecting to see? I'm expecting to see a 2-cell reference, which should be C6. That will be C3. So let's bring this. Let's just change the row here to 6. 63 and 6310. So I'm expecting this to be what? C6 to J63. If I click in the routine, hit F5 here to play it, we can see origin range there. That's exactly what we want. We want that range to be a text string. We can then use that, put it into our simple A equals B construct. Now, what about our destination range? Well, our example is quite simple because I know that these ranges, the range we want to copy into the destination, the references, the cell references are exactly the same. So I'm cheating a little bit, but you could use any references you wanted here, of course. Very, very powerful dynamic thing here. So I'm just going to say destination range, and then I'm going to move this outside of our with end with construct, and then start another. Can I just move down a bit? There we go. Start another with end with construct, this time using the destination sheet. I did warn you, didn't I? It's a little bit wordy. I totally get that, but it's very efficient. These lines of code, because you're not interacting with the spreadsheet, you're just using variables, things in VBA's memory, they run super fast here. Okay, So we've defined the origin range, we've defined the destination range. Now we should be able to do our data transfer. So we're just building off this A equals B construct, origin equals destination. So I need the sheets in here. I'm going to say sheets destination. Destination dot range, destination range. Range, and we do need dot value here. Dot value equals, I'm going to use the underscore and the new line, so that's a space and an underscore. I'm only using that so I can write this line of code across 2 lines in the VBA editor. So sheets data dot range, origin range dot value. There we go. So this may be a little more wordy. It's a little more complex to type in, to get working, but so much more powerful than using the copy paste. So destination range, dest range. So just, yeah, making that variable name consistent. How are we doing? And there we go. There's our data coming in. So this is how to do it, guys. A equals B construct. Finally, we're going to add some dynamic quality here, because data sets, they're always changing, aren't they? They're always changing, and we want our VBA code to deal with that dynamic quality of data sets. So how to do that? If rows were deleted, rows were added. If rows were deleted from the bottom specifically, or rows were added to this data set, how can we update this code to deal with that? Stop the video. What ideas have you got? We've got videos in the video description below, which will help you with creating these powerful dynamic constructs in Excel VBA. I'm going to say last row here. So last row is integer. This is going to work up to about 32,000. Now we've only got 63 rows in our data set, so we should be okay. I want to get this last row, and whether it's row 63, row 2, row 6003, I want our code to work. So with sheets data, last row equals, and we'll use dot cells to do this as well. Last row equals. So how are we going to do this? Firstly, we want to work from the bottom of Excel here. So how can we get the last row in Excel? Well, you could type it in. You could type it in 1,048,576, but we can use dot cells here, and we can just say dot cells rows dot count. Doesn't matter which spreadsheet you refer to there, because all spreadsheets have the same number of rows. Rows dot count, then which column are we referring to? So I'm going to go off column C here, which is the 3rd column in the spreadsheet. And we're going to say dot end Excel up dot row here. Okay, so this is going to give us the last row. It's going to give it to us dynamically. Going to hit the F8 key here, step through this code. You can also go to debug and step into, allow you to step through the code, understanding what's going on. Just hovering the cursor there over the last row variable is giving me the value of the variable, which is 63, which is of course what we would expect. What if we were just to clear 3 rows here? Just going to hit the delete key. Now what would we expect to happen? So once again, stepping through the code using the F8 key. So stop the video now if you want. See if you can guess what's going to happen here. So we've now got row 60. Pretty cool. But what's the next step here? We've managed to dynamically get the last row number of the data set into a variable, but we need to do more than that, don't we? We need to get that number into this construct here, which is the construct we're using to define the whole range of our data set. So how to do that? Once again, stop the video. Well, using dot cells, easily done. We can just substitute the last row in the data set, which previously was a static value, 63. We can put the variable in there. We can do the same with the destination sheet. Go back to our spreadsheet here. I'm going to clear the data out of the destination sheet. Just hit the delete key here. And let's see how we do. I'm going to step through this using the F8 key. Check on last row. Last row is 60. Origin range, nothing in there yet because that line of code hasn't executed yet because it's highlighted yellow. It's the next line of code to execute. Hit the F8 key, we can see C6 to J60 there. Perfect. And then with the destination sheet, defining that destination range, and we can see again, C6 to J60. So my references are exactly the same. They don't have to be exactly the same. They do have to have the same number of rows and the same number of columns. So it looks good to me. I'm going to stop this. I'm going to hit play, and I can see our data coming in here. And this has gone to row 60. Let's do one more test. Let's do, say, half a dozen rows. Control Shift right, Control Shift down. So we've got 5 rows now, nothing on the destination sheet. And once again, I'm going to run this macro and hit play. And I can see the data being transferred across there. What if we add more data? So if I go Control Z here, got the data coming back. So I'm just going to double the size, just going to duplicate this data set if you like. Control C, Control V here. So we've now got 114 rows. So once again, I can play this macro back across to the destination file, and I can see we're down to row 114. We'd have to think about the formats there, updating the formats. How would you do that? Well, that's when you could use copy paste with Excel VBA. Guys, thank you so much for watching this masterclass. Remember, this was inspired by a viewer comment. Leave me a comment below. Let me know what you'd like to see in these videos. The next video to watch is right here. I'll see you there.